Good morning, everyone. Welcome to How to Support Your Clients Through the Cost of Living Crisis at FreeAgent. You've still got a couple minutes. It's only just 11 o'clock, so we'll just wait for the numbers to kind of steady out and then we will go ahead and get started. Morning, everyone. Can see there's a few more people just joining. We'll just wait for the numbers to kind of stop getting higher and then we'll go ahead and get started. So yeah, looks like we've got about 100 people on just now. We'll wait until there's a few more, make sure that we're not missing anyone before we go ahead and start the webinar. Please do say hello in the chat box. We've got Sean and Stephen on the chat box today, so they will be there to answer all your questions and say hello to you all. So we'll just give it one more minute or so and then we'll go ahead and get started. Cool. Looks like the numbers are starting to kind of stop. So we'll just go ahead and start the webinar. Yeah, like I said, this is how to support your clients through the cost of living crisis with FreeAgent. Thanks you all so much for joining us today. Lovely to see we've got plenty of participants on. My name's Jem. I am an account manager over here at FreeAgent, and I'll be fielding the kind of panel discussion today. Really excited to be joined by a few really great partners of ours as well. So I'm not going to read out everything that's on these slides, but just a little bit about me in case you're interested. My favorite TV show, Sons of Anarchy, and my lockdown hobby was baking. Just a bit of an icebreaker there. And we're also joined by Ron at Banner and Associates. So Ron, do you want to say hello?
Everybody.
You've probably recognized Ron if you've been on any of our webinars before, because he is a bit of a staple for our webinar hosts. But yeah, Ron is one of the managing directors at Banner and Associates. Favorite TV show, The Sopranos, and lockdown hobby, drinking wine. Definitely relate to you on that one.
Yeah.
I think that was all of us, right?
Yeah, I think everybody got quite good at drinking and ordering wine and various other, libations. So.
Yeah, ordering wine, ordering food. Those are my two favorite things to do for sure. Amazing. We're also joined by Louise Ball. So Louise, if you want to say hi.
Hi everyone.
Lovely to have you on, Louise. So yeah, you're the owner of 11 Account Services. Favorite TV program, Parks and Rec, lockdown hobby, eating. Another one that I definitely relate to.
I like to think I was just supporting her hospitality at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone was either eating a lot or working out a lot. So yeah, I was definitely in your camp as well. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us today, Louise.
Thanks.
We're also joined by Chris, who is Strategic Partnerships Manager at Mettle. Chris, do you want to say hello?
Morning, everyone.
So Chris actually was previously an account manager at FreeAgent and then went over to Mettle. Chris, your favorite TV show, I like to think that you just copied me, but apparently we're just more similar than we realize.
Yeah, maybe more similar. We'll go with that one.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. So just going to go through a bit of an agenda for you all. So just a bit of housekeeping and introductions. Obviously, we've just done those introductions. Then I'm going to hand over to Chris, who's going to do a bit of a presentation on Mettle for us, which is really interesting. In case anyone isn't aware, FreeAgent are backed by NatWest and Mettle is NatWest Challenger Bank. So we're going to hear a little bit from him about that. We'll then move on to our panel discussion, as well as time for Q&A and a demo from Sean in our implementation team at the end. I already said, but Sean and Stephen are both in the chat box today. So just a bit of an overview. Today's session will be recorded. Not to worry if you have to dip out early or something, we will get a recording sent to you straight afterwards. It is worth 2 CPD points, so we will send you a link on how to claim those after the webinar. We like to use the Q&A box for any kind of specific questions that you've got throughout. Like I say, Sean and Stephen will do their best to answer as we go, but we'll have some time to pick up things at the end if you've got any questions for our guests as well. You can go ahead and use the chat box just for general chit chat. And yeah, if you keep the Q&A for any specific queries. We just like to ask that you keep the chat kind of polite and respectful. We've done loads of these webinars and generally our partner base is really friendly and we really love that. But we have had instances where, you know, the chat's got maybe not so friendly. Everyone's here to learn, so just keep it kind of polite and respectful, please. And there's an opportunity to take part in polls as we go throughout the webinar, where you can ask for someone to get back in touch with you for some more information. So if you're not already partnered with us, there'll be lots of opportunities to make sure we get in touch after the webinar. We're going to finish off with a free agent demo as well. Feel free to dip out before then if you've already seen the product, but for anyone who's not, we will cover off just a bit about what the product looks like. So just as a bit of an overview on FreeAgent, because I know we've got lots of partners on today, but we've also got plenty of people who maybe aren't aware of what FreeAgent is. So we are an accounting software for small and micro businesses. So we really focus our niche, and the clientele that we look after are those really small micro business clients. So, you know, your sole traders, landlords as well. We've got a landlord specific license now, as well as yeah, limited companies. Just anyone who's kind of got 10 employees or less is usually our kind of niche and who we're best fit for. We're super user friendly, so we won Friendliest Software of the Year at the Luca Awards in November, which was really lovely to see. And we've got a superstar support team that you'll hear about throughout the process of this webinar. So I'm just going to run a quick poll just to kick us off, just about whether you would like to find out more about becoming a free agent partner. So if you're an accountant or a bookkeeper, if you don't mind just replying to that poll, that would be great. And like I say, we can get in touch to discuss with you a little bit further after the webinar. But we'll just kick off with that poll. Like I say, there will be others throughout. So if you're not sure right now, then don't worry, there's plenty more polls to come. And I'll just let that run for another minute or so before we go ahead and get started. Cool, looks like the numbers have kind of dwindled out there. Oh, a couple more. Okay, I'll go ahead and end that poll now. Thanks so much for taking part. Oh, just trying to get rid of the box. Cool. Oh, just trying to get rid of my box. There we go. Perfect. So right now I'm going to hand over to Chris at Mettle, who's just going to take you through a little bit about the Mettle partnership, and then we'll come back for the panel discussion. Take it away, Chris.
Thanks, Jim. Morning, everybody. I'm Chris. I am the Strategic Partnerships Manager for Mettle. So what that basically means is I am part of 3 kind of pillars in Mettle. So I look after the accountancy channel, so accountancy partners up and down the UK. I try and help benefit clients wherever I can, and put Mettle in positions where clients maybe have not thought about a business account yet. So the job kind of works around the 3 pillars. One of our key partnerships is obviously with FreeAgent. So I'll be going over how we're addressing the cost of living crisis. I'll be going into what's Mettle in a little bit more detail, the unique partnership that we've got with FreeAgent and how we can help, and how we can help accountancy and bookkeeping partners with FreeAgent. Next slide, please, Jim. So Mettle by NatWest. So as Jim has already said, we are run and supported by NatWest. Everything that we do is based on this tagline. So we give everyone the financial confidence to work for themselves. And I think that's a really strong, you've seen from COVID, we've got people that are going to hobbies, the side hustles that want to kind of do things that they love, or they've made redundant and they want to do things that maybe they went into business for the first time. So we're here to support that, and we want to give that financial confidence as well. Next slide, please, Jim. In terms of the cost of living crisis, it's something that we are really trying to address with our customers. If you just look at kind of the recent study by Novana Business Finance, 92% of small business owners are concerned about the impact of the cost of living crisis on their businesses. And why wouldn't it? I think inflation hit 11%. I think any business has been affected by it. They were concerned with the rise in third-party costs, energy, rent, and customers reining in their spending as well. So everything that we're pretty much doing now has been affected one way by inflation. Anything that we're buying now has been affected. And if you look at the Small Business Commissioner, 7 in every 10 small business owners face serious problems with late payments during the pandemic as well. And I think that's kind of ongoing as well with late payments. And in terms of the cost of living crisis starting to impact small businesses, over 26 report that late payments from customers have become more frequent. And that can be down to lots of things. It could be like a domino effect. So if a business is buying from another business, there's that cash flow issue. People are taking longer payment terms. So everything all added into one, it's a really, really turbulent time for small businesses. So at Mettle, we want to do everything that we can to support. Next slide, please, Jim. So when we're looking at kind of the considerations that we want to do, we want to give yourself and clients access to real-time financial information. We don't want to leave it month on month. We kind of don't even want to do it 2 days. We want to give it real access information. If you're like me and do their finances, I'd do it at 11:30 at night because that's the only time I've got peace and quiet from the kids and the dogs. But in terms of if they've not got that information, it causes worry, it causes stress in terms of the personal and business life as well. We also want to move clients away from personal accounts and get your clients into a business finance mindset. If you think about if they're using a personal account and they're giving you the personal statements, you don't want to be trolling through all the personal accounts. And how can they run a business if they have to go through and troll through all the personal transactions that they do as well? I think the famous phrase "time is money" is correct. So we want to try and save yourself and clients time by doing tasks then and there. I'm an impulse person. I'm not patient at all. So if I've got receipts, I just want to take a photo of them straight away. If I've got certain things that need doing, if I've got invoices that need to be sent, I want to do it then and there. I don't want to be thinking to myself, I'll do it later. And then that just impacts everything else that goes on later in the day. I'm sure Jim will speak about this later, but invest in your tech stack. It can be an app, it can be website based, it can be on the internet. You're going to struggle to find something that isn't technology based. But if you look at your customer onboarding journey, what does that look like? Have you got certain options for certain clients? Do you look after certain niches? All clients cater for different things. So constantly evolving your tech stack is crucial. And it's also making your clients aware of what's available to them as well. Is that credit control? Is that bookkeeping? Is that everything else as well? And I know someone was going to bring AI, says that as well. So yeah, AI is going to be a huge part of it. It's not going to go away. The digital journey is there. And I know we had a delay with MTD ITSA. But I think that technology and just giving them access to financial information is going to be key. And we'll also look at ways to get paid faster, which is great. So next slide, please, Jem. So just a little, I suppose, survey for my eyes, I suppose to say is, if you've heard about Mettle, can you just put yes? If you've not heard about Mettle, can you put no in the chat box, just so I can get a taster about who's heard about it and who's not heard about it? Oh, I would say about 70-30, Jem, I think we would say. But perfect. I like to know our marketing's working in some places, and other places it's not. So if you didn't know about Mettle, Mettle is a business account or a business bank account. It's completely free. There is no charges at all for Mettle. So it doesn't matter if you're taking cash, take out cash, do direct debits, standing orders. We are completely free with no charges at all. We're rated excellent with a 4.6 rating on Trustpilot as of yesterday. We integrate with QuickBooks. We also integrate with Xero, and we also have FreeAgent. The good partnership we've got with FreeAgent is that you get it for free. So we have a unique feature where you get your business bank account for free. You also have FreeAgent for free. So that's free for your client and it's free for yourself. It's on your accounting dashboard as well. We've got all the features that you need. So we've got bookkeeping within Mettle. You've got auto tax savings. You've got invoices. You've got banking, and we've got over 80,000 clients now as well. Next slide, please, Jim. Who's Mettle for? So sole traders, limited companies with more than 2 PSEs, they have to be UK based. We've got a maximum balance of 50k for a sole trader and 100,000 for a limited company. The common attributes that we find usually are quite similar to FreeAgent. So usually newly formed, under 5 employees, simple in banking and bookkeeping needs. In terms of the businesses that we cater for, so we can go anywhere from construction, trades, e-commerce, hairdressers, designers, dog walkers, personal trainers, freelancers, contractors. Anything that you can kind of think about that FreeAgent caters for is a good fit for Mettle. We are specifically made for business bank account for the self-employed and small business as well. Next slide, please, Jim. those that do know Mettle, and those that don't probably know Mettle, some really, really good news that's happened this month. We're now officially only onboarding customers to a bank account now. Previously, it was a PPS account, but now we've officially been moved to a bank. So what this means, we are now officially FSCS protected. There's no charges for your client's business banking. We do cash deposits, and you also get free FreeAgent. If you do have clients that use Mettle already and they want to move towards a bank account, it's not an available solution just yet, but we're working hard to allow that solution. So it's a huge, huge step forward. This will give us access to multiple things in the future, like lending, interest-bearing accounts, international payments. So this is a huge step for Mettle, and the biggest change that we've got is the FSCS protection now. So again, if you think about the cost of living, that's an extra layer of protection that your clients have got as well. Next slide, please, Jim. In terms of the app, very, very simple. We're app-based, and you can also go on the website to look at Mettle. It takes around about 10 minutes for onboarding, and it usually takes within 48 to 72 hours to open the account. You've got standing orders, direct debits. You can also invoice on the go as well. You can do that through Mettle, or you can do it through FreeAgent. We've got auto match. You've also got tax and pots, which is good. So if you've got things that you want to save for a rainy day, if they want to save for tax, you can also set your side in what we call, not savings accounts, but we call them pots. And also you can connect with the accounting software as well. I just saw one question, Bob, if you are looking to deposit cash, you can use a pay at point, or you can use a post office at this minute in time. Next slide, please, Jen. So you've probably heard, since MTD for VAT, this thing about open banking and bank feed. So it can be quite confusing about what does a bank feed just mean? What does open banking mean? In terms of the FreeAgent and Mettle connection, it goes one step further. So it's not just a bank feed. So in terms of the transaction, it's real-time information. So there's no delay in data. Anything that happens within Mettle, it will show up in FreeAgent straight away. We automatically share the transaction category. So if it's for lunch, if it's for fuel, and you add a receipt, so take a picture of a receipt in the Mettle app, that will automatically go through to FreeAgent. Nothing needs to be done with that. Vice versa, if you do something in FreeAgent, it will also sync up with Mettle straight away. In terms of, you've probably heard about this as well, as in when will the transactions show? As soon as the account has been processed in Mettle, it will show up in FreeAgent. There's no delay at all. All features remain free of charge. So what we are taking the integration forward month on month on month. So it's not just a usual bank feed, so to say. It's really intense. It's really, really unique in its way that we do it, the connection with FreeAgent. So we want to give confidence. We want to make it as easy as possible. And when I talk about saving time, this is going to be crucial to that as well. Next slide, please, Jim. I suppose the main thing, we're not here just to support clients. I'll be your point of contact for accountancy and bookkeeping partners. So in terms of what I can help with, so we can provide marketing collateral. So if you've got a certain event on, if you want to send an email to your client base, if you want to do certain promotions, then we're more than happy to help you with that. If you do events and webinars, I think the most important thing that's probably went away from banking in the last 10 years is that they've lost that point of contact within the bank. So I will be that. So in terms of anything to do with issues with yourself or any issues with your clients, I can help with that. So for example, if any applications take longer than 72 hours, all you need to do is just send me the business name and I'll try and chase that up to speed up the process for you as well. We also can do landing pages. Any questions, any client issues, I'm more than happy to help. Or even if you want a brief introduction to Mettle about how we can help, please email me, find me on LinkedIn, and we can have a chat further. Next slide, please, Jim. So I suppose in summary is that we offer the free banking forever, so there's no change in that. We also offer for FreeAgent, that's not going to change anytime soon either. In terms of the cost of living, I go back to my original slides just to say, give your clients that financial confidence, focus on that onboarding journey to say, right, if I'm dealing with this micro businesses, what plan have I got in place and how can I make that really, really easy that they know from day one what I can help them with and what the apps can do for them. And don't be shy away from personal accounts, get them into the business accounts mindset as well. But I realise that I've been quite short with a lot of information, so I'll open it up to any questions.
Thanks, Chris. So we do have time for questions, but at the end, so what I'm going to say is, if you would like more information on Mettle, and we can pass it on to Chris, then if you can just pop Mettle into the chat box, we can make a wee note of that, and then we can get you in touch with Chris. But just keep firing those questions into the Q&A box, and then we will get around to them if that's okay with you, Chris.
Perfect. I'll try and get through the chat box just now if everyone's got a question about Mettle.
No, honestly, we've got time, so not to worry, we can always follow up. Great, nice one, thanks, Chris. It's
Thank
so
you,
nice because actually I was talking to my boyfriend's cousin today about Mettle because she's wanting something with like a user-friendly app for her business, and it's just so nice to see, like, feel like people are finding a lot more trust in these kind of neobanks these days. So definitely, if you're not already considering kind of recommending Mettle as part of your business plan for accountants and bookkeepers, it's one to think about, because I think a lot of our partners are finding a lot of success with that, which is lovely. Cool.
Definitely.
So I'm going to invite Louise and Ron to come back on, and we'll get into the panel discussion. Hi, guys. And we'll just go ahead and get started. So yeah, like I say, thanks so much, Chris, for setting the scene with Mettle there. We obviously the topic for today is how to support your clients through the cost of living. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with some questions. Hopefully we'll get through all of these, because I know that you guys have lots to say. That's a polite way of saying you love to talk. So I'm just going to kick it off by just asking, I mean, we put this poll out on our LinkedIn on FreeAgent the other day about what are the key challenges clients are facing in the cost of living crisis. Please, for all of our attendees, feel free to chuck them in the chat box. But just from our panelists, I'll start with you, Ron. What do you reckon? What are the kind of key challenges that you're finding your clients are facing at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's obviously very kind of user specific or client specific, but a couple of examples would be, for instance, we've got our restaurant clients are facing huge kind of energy cost pressure. So that's a real kind of very topical, very cost of living crisis-esque kind of issue to be facing. They're getting huge kind of bills for energy and gas use, which they're not used to. And not only that, but their input costs as well in terms of their raw materials and everything is also gone up in price. So I guess, generally it would be the cost of kind of doing business, or the cost of things seems to be something which is impacting a lot of our clients. As well as that, I think it's also, I guess the flip side of it really is that some of our clients are struggling with these cost pressures, and they're not able to necessarily pass them on either to their clients. So in some instances, some clients have managed to, because we're all in the same boat, so to speak. But in a lot of other instances, clients are like, well, I can't put my prices up. I'd lose too much business. So there's a bit of fear and trepidation as well around that. But I think that generally, for a lot of our clients, the energy costs, not being able to pass on price increases, and I guess also just with their own kind of cost base as well, with their people that they employ and their employees, and the kind of general challenges that we face with that. And what I mean is not only the kind of pressure to increase wages and everything like that, but also this kind of fear that goes with it of like, well, if I don't and they go, then I'm not going to be able to necessarily find someone else because of some other kind of macroeconomic things that are going on at the moment. So I say, I hope that was brief enough, but anyway.
No, that was fine. That was absolutely fine. Yeah, no, I think I agree. And it's interesting that you're talking about kind of pricing, because that's actually something that we tend to see with not only your clients, but also with accountants and bookkeepers. How do we price effectively to reflect kind of what we're living in today? But what do you think, Louise? Do you agree? Is that something you're seeing as well?
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with what Ron was saying. And I think the biggest challenge is that it's not knowing what's coming next. It's, all of a sudden you get an email from another supplier, oh, we're increasing, and another one comes through and they're not quite knowing where they're up to. I think you tend to have two types of clients, one that just bury their head in the sand and one that just is in full on panic mode. So it's controlling that and keeping a handle of keeping that level so we can deal with this. I think another issue is the public aren't spending as much. People are tightening the belts left, right and centre. So these e-commerce clients are noticing the sales are dropping, and things like homewares and things like that. everyone's sort of just tightened up a little bit.
Definitely, because these are issues that you're seeing not only as like a bookkeeper or an accountant, but also things that we're experiencing just as humans as well, right? Like we're all going through the same thing. So I think that's where kind of what I see, and I'm sure that all of you do as well, the like kind of quite close trusting relationship between clients can be really important to kind of be empathetic towards what they're going through, but you know, also having the ability to offer real value to them so that they can see you know, where they can tighten their belts and the value of the accountant or bookkeeper as well. Cool. So how can encouraging best practice and good bookkeeping help clients with the cost of living? Chris, I'd love to come to you for this one because you touched on the importance of having that business finance mindset. So, you know, not muddying the waters by having a personal bank account that their business transactions are running through, something that I'm preaching about every day. But what do you think on that best practice piece? How can that kind of influence the way clients deal with the cost of living?
I think it's just late payments is the most crucial one. So if you send an invoice out, have clear payment terms, have clear indications about where to pay the money as well. I got quoted for carpet and someone just sent me a back of a literally receipt of just how much it's going to cost and where to send the money. So it's crazy to think that people still do that, and it's mostly you can put them in the trade. So I would just say it's most important if clients are short of money, they need to get paid first. So obviously finding out credit control, what that actually means for the business, how it can affect. You've also got the cash flow through FreeAgent that can help in terms of anything happening in the future. And clients probably don't even know this if they've not came across an accountant before or even a bookkeeper. They don't know what's good and they don't know the benefit on what you can actually show them. They probably don't even know this can exist. So in terms of if you show them and blow their mind away with good practice, then they're going to be like, wow. And they'll probably need to think instantly, oh, I can change that. I can move my payment term from 30 to 14 days. You don't want them to get them in that spiral where they're constantly looking for cash, and cash is king to all businesses. So yeah, anything that you can do to kind of shorten and get cash in the bank is going to be crucial. But I'd also always go on about how you onboard clients, how you train them, get them used to the software, and how you actually want to run your practice as well. Do you want to have a full digital practice? Do you want to have the same exercise that fits all? Do you look after niches? Just show value in what you do and how it can benefit their business is a huge thing that I saw in FreeAgent, and even with Mettle moving forward as well. The landscape is constantly changing. So if you're on top of the books and you can just get focused on what the clients are good at is making money and making their business be the best. And it was quite interesting, if anyone watches the Stephen Bartlett podcast, Richard Branson did not know the difference between net and gross profit. He just wanted to be the best business out there. And he just said, go and have a chat with your accountant about that. So if anyone has that, then that's the best advice I can give.
There you
So
go. You heard it from Richard Branson, not just from us, guys. So, I mean, Louise, I'd love to ask you about that as well, because am I right, or I think I'm right, in saying that you run your own practice as well as being a bookkeeper for an accountancy firm? So, what do you think about the kind of best practice in terms of bookkeeping and how that works and how that affects your clients?
We touched on something Chris just said about getting paid in the first place. And quite often you'll come across an invoice that's got no bank details at the bottom of it, which is obviously the first thing to point out. But things like payment links, that they're so easy to integrate now through the softwares, especially if their customers are having cash flow issues, they can use credit cards to at least you're getting paid. They're definitely setting up direct debits, things like that. You know, people are so busy. Some clients have just got so many invoices, they don't know if they paid, and it's keeping track, keeping control of who's paid, where we're up to, and making sure there are systems in place so that that's not taking up so much time.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting that you say about having no bank details on an invoice, because like it's such a simple thing, but actually your clients don't really get into business to do bookkeeping or accounting. So like what seems very natural to you or me, or well, to you guys, because I'm not an accountant or a bookkeeper, but it's not maybe not so obvious to the client. And Ron, I know that a couple of weeks ago I was with you and we were talking about kind of cash flow tools, and Louise obviously just touched on it there. So what do you reckon? I mean, it's like how much kind of freedom do you give your clients in terms of software and getting them to do as much bookkeeping as possible?
I think, well, firstly, I think completely agree with everything Louise and Chris have said. I think that in terms of how much do we get clients, how much freedom do we give clients, it's a difficult one because it comes down to the personality type of the individual, and also kind of like a judgment call. In a perfect world, we as the accountants would want kind of to be at the front of everything, because that way we can be able to give good advice in real time and be able to produce real-time data for our clients so that they can make informed decisions. So really adding in that kind of advisory bit, which is really what, you know, it's all about, especially what it's all about always, quoting kind of Richard Branson, you just want to be the best, right? You don't want to be, you know, kind of, you know, necessarily concentrating on other stuff that's not necessarily within your skill set. So we always kind of push from that perspective. But then we do have clients where they do want to have, you know, they like to have a little bit of control. Kind of going back to kind of saying something before, if they are of a control nature, then obviously the way you approach it is slightly different. But the key thing is having, you know, is utilizing the tools of FreeAgent, you know, Mettle, you know, in terms of the banking and the app, and the fact that everybody lives off of a mobile phone, a smartphone nowadays, really leveraging off of that to be able to get kind of real-time data together so that you can talk to your clients. So it's putting forward those best practices of, you know, everything we've talked about in terms of like payment links on invoices is a real great one, Louise, because it's funny how people don't think about that, and also why people don't realize that there's so much tech out there that can help you with that. You don't need to, you know, think too hard on it or think too long on it. And we always give people options as well. We don't kind of say one thing, but I think that there's, you know, definitely, you know, different approaches, but I think we'd always want to do as much as possible just so we can help as much as possible. I think that's the real key thing. And when we're going through what we're going through at the moment in terms of this cost of living crisis and everything else that's going on, I think that, you know, having someone, an advisor, you know, their accountant, bookkeeper, to be able to, you know, talk about these things and, you know, together, so collaboratively rather than just kind of talking at people or anything like that is really key thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think that whole like one size doesn't fit all applies to so many aspects of business, because I always say that in terms of software, you know, I'd love it if everyone suits FreeAgent and yes, put every single one of them on all 2,000 of your clients. But realistically, you know, that's not always the case. And that's absolutely fine, because you'll just lose that trust and that engagement that we've spoken about with the clients if you don't, you know, work closely with them. And all of that kind of starts at the practice, right? It starts with, you know, what are your internal processes and how do you work with your staff and train them up, and you know, and setting that really great expectation of your staff and of your clients.
Yeah, it's having all of that in place, and it's using, I think the key thing is data, whether it's via FreeAgent. FreeAgent is great. I mean, we use FreeAgent. We're a FreeAgent partner, so we use FreeAgent with a lot of our clients. I don't know how BBCS this is. So obviously there are other softwares out there that we do use because they're a better fit for our clients. So, and I think what, you know, I think Chris mentioned it about kind of tech stack, and that's, you know, really important. It's funny because it's a phrase that's been around for a long time within the accountancy kind of world, but I think it's, you know, something which we never talked about it. You know, we're like, okay, well, we use FreeAgent, we use this, we use that. In terms of like kind of some of the cash flow tools, obviously FreeAgent does have a cash flow element, you know, bit to it, but we use kind of other apps, you know, for that do integrate with FreeAgent, because they're just able to give a little bit more data to it, a little bit more kind of like color around things. I think the key thing is just having the data, but it's also, it's like you said, it starts from the onboarding. So it starts from right at the beginning, setting expectations, and it's just being, creating that relationship of comfort as well, so that you are able to kind of ask and do and instruct and do all of these things, so that you can help them. At the end of the day, well, at least my own philosophy is to try and help, right? So I think that that's the key thing, to do, whether it's good times or bad times. You want to help.
Definitely, that's the overall ethos, right? That's why you all get into business. It's not for any other reason than to try and help people, or well, it is, but which is always lovely to see. Amazing. I'll move on from this question just because I'm wary of time, but I would love to touch back on that tech stack. I mean, if anyone who's attending this has been on any of our webinars recently, I'm sure you'll have heard the term. And I was speaking with Amy Copeland, CEO of ICB yesterday, and she said to me, bookkeeping is a tech job. And I think it's really interesting because actually that is part of the way it's kind of going now for accountants, bookkeepers, is actually, FreeAgent's my baby. It's like, that's why I go to work every day. It's not yours, but it's about finding those tools that really work for you, and that you can kind of, I don't know, use to make your practice and your clients as successful as possible. So kind of on that topic, I suppose, this topic of kind of balancing, really excellent client support while prioritizing your own practice, because we've all spoken about, offering that really close relationship with clients and really supporting them as much as possible. But how do we strike a good balance between that and kind of setting your own practice up for success? So Louise, you're the owner of your own practice, so I'd love to come to you for this one. I mean, the people aspect might not be quite so much for you, but even still, how do you kind of strike that balance there?
I think just going back to my reference before about people that bury their head in the sand or the people that are panicking, it's making sure that you are reaching out to those people that have gone quiet. They're just back in their office panicking away. Making sure you're reaching out, checking in with people at the right kind of time, but also not allowing the practice to get overwhelmed with those people who have constantly got an email every day, or want to kind of just check in with you about this, and phone calls, and managing your time using things like Calendly, setting up appointment times, giving people still that opportunity, because it's really important to keep that connection and support, especially through the years that we've just experienced, but making sure it's managed so we're not getting overwhelmed as practice owners. Making sure sort of you're not giving out personal phone numbers and things like that, and getting that sort of midnight text when someone's panicking looking through their accounts. Yeah,
exactly. You have to be able to offer value, but kind of, I don't know, charge appropriately for your time and not allow it to take over your life, right? So Ron, I know we've spoken about this. What are your thoughts on that one?
Well, I'm going to be a bit kind of counterculture here. And I completely agree that we do, have to set up boundaries and have to, do things right and prioritize the right things at the right time, which is, easier said than done. But, I always think that, when you're in practice, it's, to quote a recent movie title, it's everything everywhere all at once. So you kind of like have to, there is a certain amount of agility that you have to do, and it really depends, like, in terms of like going back to some of the other things that Chris and people have been saying, whether your niche and who you're targeting, who your client base are, and everything else. So it's very much like what everybody said in terms of understanding, the people that bury their head in the sands and the ones that don't, or the ones that kind of don't open a brown letter because it says HMRC on it, and all of that kind of stuff. But I think that in terms of, I think, Jem, that I work a lot, probably too much and things like that, but
definitely too much.
Yeah, but I think that, I think part of it is, it's, if you are working, we work a lot with founders and kind of tech entrepreneurs and kind of the whole kind of raft of things. And it's funny, like one of my mentors said this to me, and said that, the inspiration doesn't come between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. It comes at midnight on Sunday. And sometimes people want someone to be, they don't expect you to respond, they don't expect you to even see, but they would, with us, our philosophy is to try and create that relationship where they can send that message at midnight. I mean, it's not to say that, you know, they wouldn't otherwise or in any other circumstances, but, you know, if, you know, and it's good because then we can talk about it, right? And we can, you know, you've got that level of comfort. But it's, you know, it's funny, when I was first started out as an accountant, there was a huge thing about work-life balance. And I think there still is something about work-life balance, but work-life balance is subjective, and it depends on what you want to achieve. And, you know, if you want to be the Richard Branson, be the best at something, then you know, it comes down to kind of like, you know, that kind, having that kind of attitude. But then, having said that, I'd love to work less. On that note, I'll end on that note.
It is, no, but there's a fine line, isn't there? Because actually, you're right, and I think that you're both right in that you want to have that relationship with clients, but then equally, you know, you want to set your good boundaries for yourself. I suppose the thing is, I mean, I know we could talk about this for hours, because especially in terms of cost of living, this is a time when your clients really need that extra attention. They really need someone that they can go to. But there's, when you're setting up your practice, you know, you want to be able to set reasonable expectations of your clients as well. And Chris, we'd love to come to you, just because obviously Mettle supports that a bit. So there's this functionality, you know, when something happens in Mettle, it happens in FreeAgent. So in terms of that kind of automation, do you see that as being, you know, really great for the future of bookkeeping and accounting? Is the way I see it. What are your thoughts?
I think you should just put like a yes or no question in the chat box. As in, when an accountant or bookkeeper has ever had a problem with a bank feed not working, or it's disconnected, or the consent's lapsed. So if you put that in the chat box, I'm sure probably 95% of accountants have had problems with that.
Yeah.
So I think what FreeAgent's done is making that reconsent easier.
Yeah, exactly.
To get that sorted. And just going what over Louise and Ron said, is that sometimes you can just take steps out of doing things to set the boundaries. So
work smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly. So the worst one that we have, and me being in sales and business development and partnerships, is Calendly. The back and forth, just trying to get a meeting, is just painstaking. Are you free then? I'm free at 1. I'm free. And if you think it, all the meetings that you're having and you're going back and forward, I've seen a lot of practices starting to put Calendly or appointment booking on their website to say 15-minute free, 50-minute £20 chart, or something along the lines as well. So exactly, work smarter, not harder. And I think you do have to do that, because if you go to any other professional or industry, you do have to charge for your time. So why should accountants be, or bookkeepers be, any different?
Yeah, definitely.
Because I think sometimes if you don't have the boundaries, clients expect to take advantage of that unconsciously and forget that you're trying to run a business as well. So it's important that you have that boundaries and you have pride in what you're doing and what you value as time as well.
Definitely. And I think just on that, like, Calendly piece, this should be a Calendly webinar, because we all love it, obviously. But I remember when I started as an AM, so it was about a year ago, or when I started as an ISR 2 years ago, whenever I would send my Calendly link, I would explain, oh, you know, this is a system that will allow you to book blah, blah, blah. And sometimes I still do, I suppose, depending on who the client is. But actually, there's a lot more trust for technology these days. And I think the more that you can lean into it, and by nature, like, accountants and bookkeepers are always going to be belt and braces type, and like actually love an Excel spreadsheet and love to, you know, have everything backed up by paper. But the more that you can encourage your clients to trust those systems, hopefully the more they'll be able to give to you, and the more they'll
the only thing I'd say about Calendly is that it's funny though, it's great. I mean, I've got it on my email signature, and it's the best thing in the whole wide world, and it just makes life a lot easier to book meetings and stuff like that. There's still, me being me, there's still the odd occasional one where it's like, oh, you know, the client doesn't use the Calendly, or says like, oh, you're not available. It's like, well, if I'm not available, then I'm not available. That's the kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing is it's quite interesting. I just, you know, this is probably more anecdotal than anything else, but one person said to me, oh, well, it's a bit, you know, rude that, you know, I have to like kind of do it, you know, book through your Calendar. Like, they just had this kind of like, they had a different take on it.
Yeah,
you know, it's that like, don't call us, we'll call you kind of. They were a bit like that, and it's interesting because it's the first time in however many years, and I've had Calendly for like well, since lockdown, right? We're in 2023, so 3 years. I've had Calendly for 3 years, and it's the first time ever that someone actually kind of fed that back to me, and I was like, really? I was like, I just thought, yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and I just thought, I'll be honest with you, my first thought was that maybe we won't be able to work together.
This is the thing, right?
Which I never say to anybody usually, but I was like, we're not getting right.
This is it, right? One size doesn't fit all. So it really depends on the type of clients you're wanting to work with. And I know with bookkeepers, we talk about this a lot, but having that community where you know other accountants and you're socializing with other accountants and bookkeepers means that you've got that support. So for example, if there's clients that just aren't going to be working best with you, you know, you can refer them to someone else sometimes, but also just setting that boundary for yourself.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I think that this is my last question that I have. I am wary of time, but maybe just in a bit of a nutshell, onboarding. I mean, I believe in a really thorough onboarding process, setting really good expectations for clients. And that just allows you to kind of set them up for success in the future, obviously protect their business for the future. But in terms of onboarding, we'd just love to hear some thoughts about maybe what you do or what you think works best. Louise, I'll come to you first if you're happy to do so.
Yeah, great. So yeah, touching over all the points we discussed already, business bank account, essential, you know, the most basic form of bookkeeping. I always get all of my clients straight onto an accounting software, so it's discussing finding which the best one is for them, making sure we're getting the data extraction software set up, make sure they know where they're going with that, going over the invoicing, essential, like we've already said, making sure the right information's on there. Things like FreeAgent are great because they tell you what the information needs to go. You know, you enter what's needed, it goes in the right place. But just making sure that everything's set up for us to know how we're going to get the paperwork and for them to make sure they know how to invoice their clients when they're getting paid, find that system. I'm not really rigid in the say this is exactly what we're doing for every single client. It depends on what their business is. I don't have a specific niche, so they're all so different. So it's finding out how they're currently working and having a look to find out how we can make that better and more streamlined, just to make sure that we're not wasting any time.
Yeah, I love that flexibility as well, because I do think that onboarding will look different for every client. So having, you know, the basics kind of set out and the things that you really want to achieve are kind of ideal, but also just understanding that, you know, some clients might be off to a flying start and, you know, they might really not need too much attention throughout the year, and others might require a bit more maintenance is maybe the word. What do you reckon, Ron?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And Louise absolutely nailed on that. You know, it's exactly the right thing. It's different for everybody. And I think that, you know, I can't copyright this, but we don't call it onboarding. We call it a proactivity checklist that we have. So, you know, we go through certain things, you know, with clients when we're onboarding them. And exactly what Louise said, you know, what's the best fit for them in terms of banking, in terms of software, in terms of like, okay, you know, they need some help setting up their invoicing, like their template and everything else. But that's not the same for everybody. Some people are like, oh no, it's okay, I've got it from here, and others are like, no, you know, we want you to do everything. So I think it's always a case of kind of like making sure that you go through as much as possible with the spirit of wanting to help and get it done. And I think it's really a, you know, it is an opportunity when you onboard for other things, which is why we call it a proactivity checklist as well.
Yeah, I love that.
It's an opportunity. Looking at the bit that says business opportunity, it is a business opportunity. You've got a new client, whether they're a startup or somewhere that's further along in their business life cycle, there's always an opportunity. And it's when that you're having that initial onboarding where it's the first time. I always say that, you know, you got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I try to do as much or more, double the listening than talking usually to a client, obviously not on a webinar, but to a client. But this, when you're onboarding, is the opportunity where you reverse that a little bit and you do more of the talking so that they can go ahead and do the listening. And that's when you got the kind of business opportunity there.
Yeah, I love that. And
these are all copyrighted phrases. Okay, if anybody uses them, it's at least, you know, £1 to Banner Associates. Okay,
£1, come on.
Well, I'm
value your
just looking at the
services.
number of participants. I was like, that's okay. I'll just deal with that.
Fair enough. And Chris, in terms of that, I mean, I know that in terms of onboarding, you'll know from being at FreeAgent before, like we have an excellent support team who really offer such a tailored experience to new users, and they're really great at that. But how does the FreeAgent and Mettle partnership and the kind of support that you're able to offer, how does that really help your accountant and bookkeeping partners? Because obviously, I know for me, you've been a great point of contact for a lot of my partners so far, you know, anything to do with applications to just wanting to have a chat about Mettle. But how have you seen that kind of influence the onboarding journeys for clients?
Do you know what? The amazing thing is that I could big up the partnership and say, oh, this is amazing, you can get it for free. But I think
Yeah,
people
please
just
do.
want,
No, I'm joking.
just done it already. But no, I think it's just having like a point of contact. And I think you can say that for any software that you're going to use in your practice. If you have confidence in it, you're going to speak better about it and you're going to feel better talking about it. When I was in FreeAgent, I was like, oh, I don't like using this, but my clients use it. So I'm like, why would you use that in your practice? And I know sometimes needs must, but have confidence in what you're going to use. So yeah, I suppose what we can offer is just that point of contact and support. So if anything does go wrong, you've got someone there that can, I'll try my best to sort it. There'll be occasions that I can't do anything about it, but
it builds trust though in the
exactly.
software
So,
and in the
yeah.
relationship.
So we've got a support team via app, and you can call in Mettle. You've also got myself. As much as I'd love to call all your clients with all their issues, I just deal with accountants and bookkeepers. But no, it's that point of contact. And
Yeah, definitely.
I think if it does go wrong, you've got someone that you can just say, look, can you look into this? And we can look into it straight away for you. Usually it can't be sorted straight away, but at least you know it's getting looked into. We get the team to contact the client. We can start pushing it through certain things. And yeah, maybe we've looked at the application wrong and something needs to be changed, but yeah, exactly. We're here to help. The point of contact's not going away. And we just want you to have confidence in Mettle. So if you're putting it in front of your clients, you just want to know that the clients are being looked after, which is the most important thing.
Definitely. And I would say, like, just off the back of that, it's the same with FreeAgent, right? Because I know that you were an account manager at FreeAgent, but I very much think that the account manager relationship with accountants and bookkeepers should be like a bit of an extension of the support team. So no, I'm not an accountant or a bookkeeper. And when you talk about asset depreciation, it goes right over my head. However, you know, just having someone that you can go to with your issues, and like, I am an expert on the software, so might be able to help. And if not, I'll know where to get you an answer. And it's just about leveraging that relationship as much as possible a lot of the time. But also, like you say, you have to have trust in a product if you're going to put it in front of your clients and ask them to use it. So amazing. So that brings us more or less to the end of our panel discussion. However, we do have some time for Q&As. I'm just going to run another poll just now. So this poll is just about whether you would like us to get in touch with more information about digitalizing your practice or client base. So if you answered no to the previous poll, but you're now thinking you'd like us to reach out, then please let us know and we can get in touch. And I'll just let that run for a couple more seconds. But yeah, if you would like us to reach out, then we will get someone to reach out and have a chat to you about FreeAgent, whether it's a demo that you want or whatever, then we can always help you out with that. Cool, I'll just let it go for a couple seconds more and then we'll move on to the questions. Okie doke, I'm going to go ahead and end that now. Perfect. Amazing. So going to move on to the questions, just going to have a quick look. So Chris, one for you here. A client wants to set up a relationship with a merchant provider. Does Mettle recommend anyone?
No, not recommend anyone in general.
Yeah.
I would say first point of action would be Till, that NatWest. So Till's doing a lot of good work in the cost of living, and they're doing a lot of good promotions just now. And I believe FreeAgent's doing a lot of work with Till as well. So TYL would be the merchant provider that I would look at.
And they integrate with FreeAgent as well. So I will just say maybe Stephen or Sean, if you're on the chat box, if you can maybe pop in the link to our integrations page, that'd be super helpful. And then if anyone wants to have a look at the softwares that we integrate with as well, then you can do that. Will FreeAgent be able to cope with forthcoming quarterly and end of year returns for income tax? So if that's for MTD, then yes, we are able to cope with MTD. So yeah, not to worry. I mean, actually after the delay, it's given us a bit more time to kind of focus on our core product. However, we are an MTD approved software, so not to worry. And if you'd like more of a chat about that, then please do let us know just so we can reach out. Oh, Tracy, I can see that you didn't see the poll. Not to worry, we will make sure that we get in touch with you. There will be another poll at the end of the demo as well. So if you missed it the first time, you can see it the second. Sift. Oh, I don't believe that we do integrate with Sift. As I say, I'll get Stephen or Sean to pop in a link to our integrations page at the moment. But if you have a look at our integrations page, if we don't integrate with software that you're thinking of, have a look, because there's other ones that we do integrate with that might do the same job for you. Mettle question for you, Chris. I believe this one, is there a cost for banking cash at the post office?
You know, the hard thing about having something free is that you have to say everything's free and nothing charges. See if we charge £5 for Mettle, nobody would bet, nobody would question the freeness. But no, there's no charge for anything at all.
No charges.
All you do is go in, show the barcode on your app, and then you can deposit the money. Easy as that.
There you go.
Free.
We love to hear it. Amazing. So sorry, just aware of time because I am running over as usual. Louise, Ron, Chris, thank you so much. It's just been so lovely. I really love having these discussions, especially with people who are so engaging and easy to talk to. So yeah, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. I'm sure I'll catch up with you guys soon, but don't worry about hanging around for the demo of the software because I know that you're experts already. And I'll let you go. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Cheers.
everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
So I am fortunate enough now to be handing you over to lovely Sean Kelly. Sean's going to take you through a bit of a demo of our software if you've not seen it before. If you have seen it before and you don't want to stick around, it's not a problem. I won't be offended. You can go ahead and leave the webinar. There will be a chance for another poll at the end of the demo. In the meantime, I'll try and field any more questions in the Q&A box. But Sean, are you there? Are you ready to take over?
Yes, I'm all ready. Just when
Cool.
you're okay to stop sharing your screen, I'll take over.
There you go. I will stop sharing and then I'll let you crack on.
Excellent. Perfect. So thanks for sticking around. I think we've still got quite a few people in the webinar today. So what I'm going to be doing is taking you guys through a sort of demo of the mobile app, as well as some cash forecasting functionality that your clients can use. It's sort of on brand with today's webinar. It's all about how you can put your clients in control of their finances and also how they can remain in control once you do put them in control. So what I'm going to do is jump into one of my test licenses within my practice dashboard. You'll see here under the banking tab, I do have a cash flow option. Now, this is unlike the cash flow option that you will find on the overview page. This is actually a forecasted projection for the next 90 days that your clients can use to basically see what exactly their bank balance will be. Now, you're probably wondering what information does FreeAgent use to calculate this. Now, if we scroll down to the bottom here, you'll see we've got two windows, incoming and outgoing. These two windows are basically going to list everything that FreeAgent is taking into consideration. So as you can see, it's going to take into consideration any overdue or open invoices and bills. So anything that your clients add in terms of sales and purchase invoices, that's all going to be captured. Now, let's say we've got this invoice here that's been overdue for about a month so far. Now, let's say that customer actually gets in touch with your client and tells them that they're not going to make that payment for maybe another 2 months or an exact date within the next month. Your client can actually use the 3 dots on the right-hand side of that entry, and they can use that to change expected date. Now, changing that expected date will change the cash flow projection for the next 90 days. It will not change the tax point of that transaction, how it's handled within the accounts or the VAT return. It's just simply going to show your clients a more accurate depiction of what's going to happen. What your client's data is also being taken into account is any transactions that FreeAgent tries to predict. Now, next to these sort of transactions in black, these transactions have not happened yet, but you'll see when I hover over that little glass crystal ball, you'll see that it is a predicted event. Now, so FreeAgent will take into account any transactions that your client is consistently describing with the same description the same way. They don't need to have the same value or the same date range, but what FreeAgent will do is, as long as it falls within certain parameters, FreeAgent does include it within their outgoing transactions as well. So again, very useful feature, and they can customize it even further within the settings area, where they can actually turn on and off certain bank accounts that they don't want to be taken into the consideration for their forecasted bank projection, such as petty cash or any liability accounts that they've created in the past. You can also choose which bank categories should be used with the predicted events forecaster. And we also have the ability to add manual events as well. So for anything that FreeAgent can predict or it's not going to know because there's no invoice or bill for it, you can also create a manual event, which can be set to reoccur or simply be an ingoing or outgoing transaction that happens once. So again, there's a lot of functionality there that your clients can use to make sure that they're on top of their finances and are going to be prepared for anything that does come up in the future. Now, that's going to be a little segue into our capture for later feature. As you can see on the right of my screen, I do have the mobile app loaded up. And what I'm going to do just now is a live demo of basically the capture for later feature. So as you can see, I'm going to use the big green plus at the bottom of my screen. And inside there, I will have an option called capture for later. Once I click on this, this will allow me to now capture a receipt. And what FreeAgent has is some auto extract functionality, which it's telling you there. That's basically going to save you an extra step once you're within the account. So if I click continue to camera, it will start looking for a receipt. And I'm just going to hold this above one on my desk. Now, you will notice that this receipt on my desk is folded. It's been crumpled. I've sort of done that on purpose so you guys can see that it will look for this information and pick it up. If you're not happy with the photo, you just simply click retake at the bottom left and you can hover it above again. Again, I'm not clicking anything. FreeAgent has technology that's looking for it. Once you're happy with the photo, click done. We would suggest getting your clients into the habit of clicking onto the file name, deleting the text and simply renaming this with the vendor's name, which is Shell in this case, and possibly the date of the receipt as well, which was the 29th of the 3rd. So I'm just going to add that information in. Click Save to Files. Now that receipt has been captured by the client who is on the mobile version. You as the accountant will be accessing through the desktop version. If you click onto your client's name at the top right, once you're within their license, come into Files, you will see that that image that you've sort of uploaded is already there. Again, another benefit of cloud-based accounting systems is automatically going to update on the desktop version. Once it's finished processing, you just simply click onto the down arrow and you will see the receipt that's been captured as well as the extracted data. Like I mentioned, it's taking the receipt and the total value of that receipt all automatically. I've not keyed in any of that information. All you're looking to do next is either click Convert to a New Expense, which is in terms of out-of-pocket expenses for your client. So things that they've paid for with their own personal money or from a personal bank account. They can then make sure that the nominal code that they've selected is correct. Again, the date, the value has already been added in automatically. Again, if they want to adjust the VAT rate, they can do it. And then you can simply click Create New Expense. That expense will then be added under the My Money Expenses section as an out-of-pocket expense. So again, it's a very key feature. And again, it's going to help your clients keep on top of their finances for things that they're paying for personally. They can then make sure that they're going to pay this out from the business account sooner, because they'll know that this money is due back to them, especially for limited company owners. They can make sure that they're going to get paid quicker, basically. But that's it for the demo, unless there's any questions in the chat box. Jem, is there anything there?
Nothing, no questions. I'm just going to run one last poll. If anyone has had a look at a demo and thought I simply must talk to FreeAgent about FreeAgent, then just go ahead and say yes, please, on the poll, and we will be in touch and we will take you through it in a bit more detail, or we can chat to you about how to become a partner and how we can help you and your clients. Just while that runs, I'll just say to Sean and Stephen, thank you so much, Sean, for that lovely demo, and also to Stephen for helping out with all the questions in the chat box today. Everyone who's come along, thank you so much. We've got another webinar coming up next month. I've popped the link in the chat box there. It's with Ruth, one of our AMs, who will be talking about client onboarding, so definitely not one to be missed. It's a partner exclusive webinar, so if you're not a partner already, then go ahead and click yes in this poll that's running so that we can get you signed up, and then you can come along to the webinar if it sounds like it's of interest. I'll let that poll run for a couple more seconds, but thank you all so much for coming along, and we hope to see you at the next one. Cheers.